And now I'm coming for them, and I'm teaching others how to do it too. And we are standing up. This generation of foxhole atheists in America right now is the one that gets it done and gets equal rights. A festival on Fort Bragg was unthinkable, an atheist festival just 2 years ago. Like I was just sure we were going to get another movie theater. Get out of here, kid! You're bothering me. But a social change is happening, and it started at Fort Bragg, and hopefully it's contagious. And you take me out of the picture, whatever, it doesn't matter, because there's 50 other people here and 100 scattered elsewhere that are just as motivated, influencing 50 more people there at their place. And this is the time, and it's happening now. And I think no country is immune to that. And it's kind of sad. I just can't really relate specifically to the Irish or the British sort of experience in that regard, because I know it's more complex. But we have built-in laws and regulations that are being broken, and if you call them out, they're afraid of being called out because they know they're wrong and they can't win. It's just one of the things scary to call them out the first time.
One of the things that I try to highlight whenever the people bring up the relevance of their religious beliefs is that when people are in need, God did not prevent them from being in that desperate situation, and God evidently isn't going to provide for them. But whether God exists or not, those people do, and it will still be people that come forth to their aid. There's an old Spanish saying, which is, pray to God all you want, but keep rowing to shore. That thing, in other words, it parallels that old comment about, God helps those who help themselves. In other words, God doesn't do squat, you do it.
Yep. Nothing says faith more than bulletproof glass.
Right. And that was another little one-liner that kind of came from J. Anderson Thompson of the Richard Dawkins Foundation. I read it. He gave me like 50 copies of his books to pass out to other atheists in the military, and I read it. Page 71, it said, maybe there are only atheists in foxholes, because if you believe that prayer is going to do some good when the bullets start flying, then why are you wearing armor? Why are you digging a hole that takes like 8 hours? Why are you doing this at all? Isn't God going to block the bullets for you? It seems that faith stops when the shit gets serious. Faith stops right there, and you duck down and you...
Can I say that to you honestly, guys? I mean, I'm not trying to impress, and this is why I'm calling. It's one thing that's relevant to this conversation. I have been in that situation in South Lebanon, and under tremendous artillery fire from Israel, above all, and Hezbollah the next day. And I think even my so-called latent Christian friends, if you question them now, the last thing that anyone thought of, this is why I hate this analogy that's been manipulated in the States. That everyone cries for Mama and God and whatever. They don't. What you think of is your buddies. What you think of your guys around you. It's an altruistic human thing that's just superimposed on your military training. It's absolutely nobody thinks of God. You haven't got bloody time to think of God if you're under fire.
I'd like to add something. I'd like to add something to what Randall just said. Now, I have been shot at, and I've been shot. It's nowhere near the capacity what he's talking about, where you have whole armies of people after you. I just had a few lunatics after me. But I have faced my own demise, what seemed at the moment my own imminent demise, at least a couple of times in my life. And the idea of an afterthought or an afterlife never crept in. I mean, there were a couple of times when I felt certain that I was going to die within the next few seconds. And the only thought, I'm proud to say, that crossed through my mind was how my family would fare in my absence. So that was the only thing I thought about at that time. So it's very much like what Randall is saying.
Mm.
One last thing about foxholes, though, is that if I saw someone not going back to their training, like he said, like it's an instinct, like it's built into you. If someone was in a foxhole with me and they like put down their rifle to pray or something like that, I would slap the shit out of them and say, "You're gonna get us killed. You get your ass together, get in gear, and shoot back. We are gonna die if you do not. Pray later. I'm sorry."
And I agree with Aaron completely. You do tend to, you think of your family. That's your first instinct. I mean, it's not like a shopping list, but you think of your buddies first, your family, and that kind of thing. I mean, I really, you don't think of anything supernatural or anything else. You just haven't got time for that. I mean, it's a stupid analogy, and I don't know why it's been so monopolized. I love this. Fox News did this whole thing on it. I hate to speak about that chap. It was featured in your video, Aaron, and you, sir, as well, there in the promotion. What was the name of that soldier that Fox News made a big thing of? It was a Marine, and he was killed, and he was an atheist. I can't remember.
Tillman.
It was Pat Tillman, right?
Pat Tillman, voila, yeah. Yeah, they made a big thing about that, and I thought that was really disgusting. He was an atheist, wasn't he?
Yes, absolutely. He was actually a world famous, well, not world. He was a national sports hero already, and he quit his job. And he was an atheist and actually like pretty left wing type of guy, Noam Chomsky fan. And his death was being used initially. It was misreported. It was a friendly fire incident actually, but. His death was being used to try to recruit people for the Iraq war that was starting up that he was very much against, and he his family basically said enough's enough. And when they called out and they put a black eye on, I guess it was viewed as a black eye by people at Fox News. They put a black eye on the military or something like that. Whatever's going through their minds. Hard to tell. I mean, they did a hatchet job on me just recently, but and I've got death threats from it now. But anyway, so Fox News started attacking this guy, and you can see when it was first reported about Pat Tillman, they didn't know he was an atheist. And there's footage of people, Fox News correspondents, saying he was not an atheist when liberals would bring it up, or whoever would bring it up. Their token, liberal, and they would say, "No, I don't believe that," and then it was just true. So then the attack started.
It's just incredible.
Now,
speaking of atheists in foxholes, I'm from a Jewish background. I was raised Orthodox Jewish, and lots of the elderly members of our synagogue were World War II veterans. When I came out as an atheist, word got around, and he actually came and had a word with me. He's been an atheist who's remained in the closet since World War II. And it was the campaign from D-Day all the way to Berlin, where he was wounded, that convinced him over 70 years ago or so now to give up on religion.
Yeah, and I'd like to throw in one other thing about Tillman being misrepresented the way that he was to promote things that he did not believe in. I mean, I've got a shirt that has that. Che Guevara thing, where you buy this shirt and then you're commercializing something that the man was completely against. Justin spoke to our Fellowship of Free Thought meeting about how the military wants to force people to pray over the bodies of fallen atheists, and I just recently posted something on my Facebook about Bill Maher talking about how Mitt Romney had posthumously baptized an outward enthusiastic atheist as a Mormon somehow, and I find that enormously disrespectful. I think that when I die, and I've already made directions to this effect, that anybody attending the service would be thrown out if they were to say anything so disrespectful as, well, he's in a better place now, or now he knows the truth of God. No, get your fuck out of here. I don't understand people that want to force their nonsense onto someone like that in the most disrespectful manner, posthumously, when there's nothing that can be said about it by that person.
But that's part of their theology, Aaron. The Mormons, that's part of their stupid, ridiculous theology. They believe, in that sort of thing. And the only one benefit, if I could say any one crumb of anything positive about the Mormons, in terms of ancestry research, even online these days, do you know something? Oddly, they've been, thanks to them, because they trawl through your ancestors and dig up the graves so they can baptize them, and we know an awful lot about people from church records or whatever else, thanks to their craziness. But that's not endorsing that policy, as you say, posthumous. It's disgusting. I mean, it really is more relevant. But
as for Americans in the service right now, there's obviously that effort in Texas that we discussed earlier, and I believe you were kind of referencing that. But there's another thing that you may not understand. It's institutionalized. Like the majority of atheists have a huge problem getting the word atheist on their dog tags and on their paperwork, and so we're vastly underrepresented. But also, what it says in its place is no religious preference. And like I said from the beginning, chaplains specifically look for, it doesn't even matter if it says atheist at this point, but it specifically, when it said no religious preference, I talked to someone who is a widow of a fallen atheist who died in the Afghan war, and her husband told them atheist, got no religious preference, and before they could even have it fixed, died in the war, leaving behind a wife and child to bury the dead. And at that funeral, there was a chaplain who was told, "Hey, this was an atheist. I'm an atheist, and our daughter's not religious." And he said, "Well, I'm just going by the paperwork. That's worst case scenario right now. And I want to encourage any foxhole atheists out there right now, and maybe you've got no religious preference, or you still got Christianity, or whatever it is. Go to your S1, and you can change it in 5 minutes. Don't leave until they do it. It's an easy thing, just to put atheist on your record. Something like that may happen, and you don't want that. You don't even know what that's going to do to the rest of your family or your memory or whatever."
Well, firstly, I just want to say in that, as an ex-officer, I continue, and that's why I don't want to spout about it forever, but I was a commissioned officer, and since I resigned my commission, I talk about it. I have my channel on YouTube, and I don't go on about being ex-military. It puts people off. But the point is, I think it's wonderful what you're doing, and what people don't understand is that for a soldier, and equally for a policeman, it's very difficult, but particularly for the military, to go to your local representative, your congressman, your senator, whatever, because the military, just like the military and the police are not in trade unions, they're not allowed to be. It's difficult for you to speak out, but I think it's great what you're doing. Organize, my friend, within the ranks. Organize it, exactly. And if there is any crossing the line, that is your civil right. There's nothing got to do with the military code. So continue.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You touched upon the number one thing that I want to stress to people is the military has this culture of fear for atheists, and even I was a victim of it. I was afraid to speak out, and once I overcame it, I realized there was nothing there. There is no boogeyman. You have the right to be right and stand up for principle, and it works a lot better when it's not just you, when you have a voice of unity and you all say, "Hey, this is wrong. Hey, we all want this, nativity thing taken care of, or we all want this and this. We all give a shit about the Constitution, and we give a shit about our own rights." And when you say that in unison, they can't help. They can contact me directly. It's jgriffith at atheist.org. Sorry, I've got multiple email addresses, but they can contact me. Absolutely, yes, and that's what I do. I'm advocacy, and I'm the first line, and I can steer you to the things that cost a little bit of money, or the things that you may need legal support for. So no matter what the situation is, let me know, and we will get the word out. Like, we've started petitions, and we've successfully gotten nurses fired for in Dallas. I was just talking about this. A nurse told a suicidal lesbian Marine Corps veteran at a VA hospital that the reason she was depressed was because of her lifestyle of sin, and proceeded to preach to her for 3 hours. And that soldier, or sorry, that Marine left the office determined to kill herself. And an atheist friend of hers talked her out of it. We still got her with us. Esther Garrity's doing great, and we've got that nurse fired based on a petition that every time someone signs it, it sends an email to not just one politician, but all of them in their district. And then, it's just such an intelligent system that we have, and it's like becoming a Lorax. That's what I like to say. The Lorax, the Dr. Seuss character who spoke for the trees. Well, the Lorax failed because he was just a hippie just screaming. Now I've got a megaphone, and I'm a raging Lorax, and I've got a system that can help you get the word out, and we will fix it.
Absolutely. Spoken for like a true soldier. I know why you're a soldier. You're a brave man. Good. Excellent. I love that. Dude, you have a megaphone. Aaron and I discussed this before. The internet is the new weapon, and it cuts more, cleaner and sharper than a scalpel, a doctor's scalpel. The thing is, when you've got some heat on you, sir, when you've got the publicity, they won't touch you because they're afraid of that. Because I should have amended what I said before. The military wants conformity, but they want everything calm and as normal. It's just changing hearts and minds. And I think it's just getting out there. I'll support your cause. Anyone else? And this is the wonderful thing about the internet. And perfect. Keep going. Don't blink an eye. Keep going.